Hey there, Giz here. In the second episode of how to craft a cobblestone town square with recycled foam meat tray, I'll paint the cobblestone board and add a few more elements to make it look as real as possible. Since I covered the foam with a layer of Mod Podge, I can now safely use spray paint. I'll start by applying a coat of Vallejo black primer on the entire board. As you can see, there's a lack of black primer between the stones. So I'll use an airbrush to apply black paint diluted with flow improver and try my best to reach the gaps between the stones. Nevertheless, I had to finish the job by applying diluted paint directly with a brush. Then, after painting a solid base coat, I apply Vallejo Panzer Gray primer at an angle to cover the surface of the stones and avoid reaching too deep in the gaps. If you don't have spray primer, you can always use the dry brush technique and a dark gray color to begin highlighting the stones. All this before applying Vallejo Gray primer to create an ambient light effect. Again, if you don't use spray cans, simply apply a light dry brushing with a paler shade of gray. This completes the first phase and gives us a good undercoat. After, I dilute different colors to glaze the stones randomly. Here I use Vallejo flat brown, pale brown, cork brown, orange brown, brown sand as well as gray green, neutral gray and dark sea gray. I'll also stain very few of the stone with olive gray, English uniform, US dark green and transparent red. Stone can be of any colors. Feel free to use any color to create your own color scheme. Don't worry, the paint is less saturated and it will become dull when it dries. Here we can see the result after I've applied the first 8 colors. And here after I added the 4 other colors. At this point I'll apply a base coat on the grain of sand. Here I'm using Vallejo brown sand. When the paint is dry, I do a Vallejo pale brown dry brushing all over the stones. I dip my brush lightly in paint, then I wipe off excess on the tissue and lightly brush the surface of the cobblestones. The raised texture will catch the paint, giving a worn appearance. I take my time not to stain the stones. I want to achieve a smooth and fairly even result over the entire surface. After, different colors of paint and shade can be used to stain the stones. I'm using Citadel Atonian Camo Shade to simulate mold. And also use some Agrax Earthshade. Then I apply a very light dry brushing in Vallejo Dark Sea Gray. I use a larger brush to speed things up. After, I highlight the edges of the stone in Vallejo Pale Gray Blue. Here I use a smaller brush and do my best to only touch the edges of the stone and the sand. I'll now mix olive gray and English uniform, which I'll dilute with water to stain some areas. The final step is to give the cobblestone a worn and dirty appearance. So it's now time to let your imagination run wild. The corners and edges of the stones can be broken because of the frequent passage of the carts. So here you can use a very pale color, like Vallejo Off-White, to simulate chipped stones. The paint can be applied with a brush on individual stones, or a sponge can be used to speed up the process. I'd like to take a moment to thank the guys at my local hobby store, Fenris Workshop. Some days ago I was able to use my loyalty points to buy a book from the diorama series published by AK Interactive. As you will see, this book is a great source of inspiration. If you're in North America, USA or Canada, and you're missing something to build your diorama, or if you're looking for a Games Workshop product, check them out. They may have exactly what you're looking for. I'll leave a link to their website in the description. They offer free expedite shipping to all orders above 100 Canadian dollars. And if you wish to register using the link, you'll receive 300 loyalty points, and you'll also receive the same amounts of points. Now that we're done with painting, you may wish to push the whole thing even further. I'm gonna glue different types of synthetic grass here and there on the pavement. Several other elements could be added depending on the use you want to make of this board. Dead leaves, newspapers gone in the wind, garbage. The possibilities are endless. Then I dilute white glue with water, mix it with grain moss, and push it between the stones with a brush. For the finishing touch, puddles of mud and water can be added to create a point of interest and make the scene even more realistic. Here I'll use AK Interactive Dirt Splatter Effect and Woodland Scenics Realistic Water to create a small puddle. You could also use Liquitex acrylic modeling paste mixed with paint to create the same kind of effect. Modeling paste can also be painted when it's dry. It's better to seal the paint before applying realistic water so as not to alter its glossy appearance. When the mud is completely dry, I mix a drop of English uniform paint with realistic water effect and pour a thin layer into the puddle. I then let it cure for 24 hours. Realistic water shrinks when it cures, and multiple layers may be required to fill the puddle, so we have the opportunity to adjust the color of the mud. Voila, we've just created a charming cobblestone town square using recycled foam meat tray. It's a fun way to repurpose material and get crafty. Remember, there's no limit. You can use this technique for various projects. I hope you've enjoyed this do-it-yourself tutorial. If you want to support my work, don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to the channel. And if you'd like me to prepare other similar videos, let me know in the comments. Thanks for watching, and until next time, keep on painting and take care.